What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's six-game slate in the association. We're starting to get back towards these mid-size slates, so hopefully we'll start to ease off some of the back-to-back scheduling concerns. Unfortunately, that's not the case tonight. If it moves forward, but we've got 5 of the 12 teams on the back end of back-to-backs. That's New Orleans, Dallas, Cleveland, Minnesota, and Chicago. And then 2 teams on the front end of back-to-backs, the Lakers and Denver tonight. With me to talk through it as always, Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you feeling about Wednesday's 6-game slate?
Yeah, a lot going on. A lot of guys got kind of dinged up last night, and they're getting Q tags. So we'll see. If this was a late, no late swap kind of situation, maybe we could have a little bit more value to dig into here. But expecting some game time decisions, and excited to hopefully put you guys on the right track and where to expect these guys are going to come down, whether they're active or inactive.
All right, let's start with Dallas and Toronto. On the Dallas side of things, Luka Doncic gets a probable tag. Maxi Kleber listed doubtful with the right small toe dislocation / nasal fracture. Derek Lively listed probable with the nasal fracture. Dante Exum listed probable with right knee bursitis. So taking out Kleber, inserting back Dante Exum, what are your expectations for how the Mavericks line up tonight?
Yeah, and they are probable with broken hearts after Max Strus 59-foot, probably the shot of the year. Just insane to go 5 threes and 3 and change. Incredible game from Max Strus. But yeah, we talked about this. Maxi Kleber's small pinky toe dislocation has kept him out multiple stints, so not surprising to see him out there. He played a pretty long stint, somewhat to our surprise. We weren't expecting him to play a little bit smaller, but Maxi Kleber's a pretty good post defender, so that kind of worked out. And it was, looked like it was going to work out until Max just went ham down the stretch there. So yeah, expecting a pretty big limit on Dante Exum. He's been dealing with this for a while. He's been out for a month. We saw he was supposed to start, and that kind of went away when he came back. He got hurt again, so I would expect a pretty long ramp up here. We got him at 14 minutes. Obviously, he's still expecting the same starters. Luka, Kyrie, Josh Green, who hurt his elbow again, by the way. Two locker room trips yesterday. He's been listed with his elbow before, not listed. Should be good to go, but could cut his minutes down a little bit. Thought he's been playing pretty well offensively. Defensively, not so much, in my opinion. And then we'll see if Derek Lively's minutes could come up. He hasn't had like a formal cap. There was a note that he about a week ago or so when he first was coming back that it was like a breathing thing, but there's like no formal limit on him. It's really been more of a function of Maxi Kleber kind of playing pretty well. So maybe Lively's minutes could come back up. Pretty good matchup for it against, especially if Pirtle can't play. We'll get to that in a second. And then, yeah, we'll see PJ Washington maybe play 5. We haven't really seen much of that. We got 4 minutes of that just because we don't think they want to play Daniel Gafford, who did not show up at all. Got a real quick hook and never really got back out there. That was a bit of a surprise. And we did see some Hardy minutes yesterday that are probably going away. And then I should mention, I'm surprised nobody in chat, you guys love the birthday narratives. It's Luka Doncic's birthday today. So, if you want to play the birthday narrative, awesome matchup. I almost cover void him today, but couldn't do it with a back-to-back. Thought he may have a chance to sit. So could play a lot of – I think it's safe to say he will play more minutes than his age today.
What are your expectations on Dante Exum in terms of his return to the lineup and how it potentially impacts things?
Yeah, we got him at 14. We think they're just going to play like a teensy bit smaller here. He may barely play. Hardy's going to go away. And then maybe a little bit off Green. Not too, just pretty low expectations. Maybe, just not super, Tim Hardaway Jr.'s minutes doesn't have the same ceiling. So mostly just nipping away at guys. And they're just going to play a little bit smaller. That's kind of why we got the 4 PJ Center minutes.
All right, let's move to the Toronto side of this game. Chris Boucher listed questionable with an illness. More notable tag, though, Jakob Poeltl listed questionable with a left ankle sprain. What are your expectations on Poeltl's availability? And Boucher's largely been kind of on the outskirts on the rotation anyway, so I don't think it's a big deal there. But what are your thoughts on Jakob Poeltl's availability tonight?
Yeah, injury didn't look too bad. Got downplayed initially by Darko, and then he went through shoot-around today. So pretty much all signs indicate he'll be back. Possibly watch out for the minutes. His minutes haven't been very good. Centers like that who are kind of lumbering down in the paint could get cut down. We've seen that, Kelly Olynyk's getting pretty good amount of front court touches. So expecting him to start, maybe like not like a hard limit, not really limited from like a trainer standpoint, but maybe Darko's like, okay, he doesn't have his fastball. Let's get him out of there. So expecting him in, obviously the Matchup's pretty good overall. Maybe he gets going. But yeah, Scotty Barnes coming off a big game. Cover boy for me last time. He'll have PJ Washington on him. #PJL. But he's playing, just awesome basketball. Other than that, not too much to add. The starters kind of a bunch of minutes. Really big win against the Pacers on Monday.
I'm not sure if your mic switched to the AirPods because you started to trail off there at the end. So give that a check while I kind of transition here to the Pels, which is one of the trickiest situations to project initially on the slate. This is the Pelicans' 5th game in 7 nights. This is also a back-to-back. They got in very late from travel issues last night. They've listed CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson all questionable here. They're still without Jose Alvarado due to league suspension and Dyson Daniels. So this feels like a potential rest spot, just given 5th game in 7 nights, the awful travel last night, get the road win in New York. What are your expectations for the Pels tonight?
Yeah, let's start with the travel. And apparently it's Jennifer Hill's birthday. I clicked her Twitter page to get this link, and a bunch of balloons popped up. So shout out to her. Yeah, so as you can see, they boarded the flight in New York. Plane broken. Had to deplane at 3 a.m. Take off at Indy and then arrive at 5 a.m. and then go to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's not good. You mentioned 5 games in 7 nights. I actually took this info and bet it. I hope my mic sounds okay now. Do I sound okay now?
Yeah, you sound good now.
Okay,
yeah.
That was weird. Must have been an internet thing. So yeah, that's not great. And then the 5 games, 7 nights, and then also, as you mentioned, Brandon Ingram hurt his ankle a couple times last night. He was really hobbled. I was surprised he stayed in there for as long as he did. So I think he's got a good chance to miss. There were some quotes from Zion and Brandon Ingram about how they're kind of like gearing up to be active and be in this wild Western Conference hunt. That's, we talked about it yesterday. It's just, it's hard to sit. It's just because you lose a couple games. Look at the Mavs. They're 5th, and then they drop a couple games, and now they're in 8th. So I think Zion's in, but he's played back-to-backs before, as in the first 2 games after the break. But those are both home games, and it's hard to travel if you're not 100%. So I think it's a little less likely Zion sits. I'm pretty sure CJ McCollum's going to come back. He practiced on Monday, got ruled out early, but went through a full workout. It looked like he was going to go. So I think that was a back-to-back situation. So I'm pretty sure CJ's in. Not sure on Brandon Ingram, not sure on Zion, kind of leaning in. They're both kind of minor injuries, Zion being a management injury. So CJ for sure, Herb for sure, Jonas Valanciunas for sure, and then Trey Murphy if one of them, and then Najee Marshall if both of them, meaning Zion and Brandon Ingram. But for now, expecting kind of everyone in. But again, this travel thing can't help. I think that they don't want to have any chances here. So I actually bet this. I actually bet the Pacers for the 5 games in 7 nights. Pacers at home again. Haven't had to travel at all. They've been staying home since All-Star break. So I think a lot of factors schedule-wise are working in the Pacers' favor.
And if there's any team in the league that you probably don't want to see when you're playing a little bit fatigued, whether it's from playing 5 games in 7 nights or playing on short rest because of the travel issues, it's Indiana, whose intentions are to just run you into the ground. So I'm with you on this. I'm also on the Pacers -6. I tailed you on that. So it looks like a really, really tough spot for the Pelicans tonight, and one that you could just see really wild minutes. Like it wouldn't surprise me if you just saw unusual minutes, even if guys do play, just because this is a lot of basketball to ask guys to play and a lot of travel kind of mixed in as well. 5 games in 7 nights is one thing, but when it's mixed in with a road trip right after an All-Star break, like that's a really brutal schedule to come out of the break. All right, let's move to the Indiana side of things, where Aaron Nesmith is listed questionable with a right ankle sprain. He's missed the last few games. They're without Doug McDermott. So even if they get Nesmith back, they're down another kind of wing player here. Obviously, Nesmith plays a lot more than McDermott, so it would be a very big net positive. But they remain, pretty thin on the wings just generally. So what's your read on Nesmith's availability tonight? And are we, going to get him back, or are we back to seeing, Benny Mathurin challenge upper 30s minutes continuously in the absence of Nesmith?
Yeah, so it's worth noting that Rick Carlisle not officially ruled him out, but he basically ruled him out the day before this game on the screen. It's not a good sign for a guy it seemed like he was going to miss like a week or more based on how it was described initially. So I kind of think he's missing this one. It'd be nice if he's in. We could use it for our Pacers bet. So I think it's going to be Mathurin again. Mathurin coming off one of his best offensive games, both from transition, but it was his best on-ball game. Most pick and roll handler points and isolation points combined for him on the season. And then, the touch time was great. He was driving, all the good stuff that we want to see from Ben Mathurin there. Matchup's going to be better for him. Expecting Herb Jones to get the Halliburton matchup there. But yeah, leaning Neesmith out. We have him in for projections just because I'm kind of guessing here with the Q tag and no shoot around stuff yet. So, but yeah, and then we'll see if Jarris Walker goes away. Actually, Jarris Walker got demoted, which is a good sign, I guess, if you want to kind of look at some evidence that he could be back. But they could just promote him right back. I'm not sure. I haven't done my G League tracker yet, but yeah, expecting Neesmith out, but not 100% confident on that.
Yep. All right, let's move to Cleveland and Chicago. On the Cleveland side of things, we do have a filing despite the back-to-back, so that's helpful. They're just basically listing the G League guys out, the same guys that were out yesterday, so it doesn't look like there's any new additions from Cleveland side of things. Craig Porter Jr. listed as out for G League assignment. What are your notes here on the Cavs?
Yeah, very little to note. Darius Garland did not play well yesterday. Bickerstaff said he's kind of still working his way back from the fractured jaw. Talked about Max Strus with he had 6 points with 4 minutes left in the game, and then this goes completely ham for 5 threes, including one of the craziest shots of the year. But yeah, other than that, not too much to add. Yeah, expecting them pretty much full go. As you mentioned, we don't have any Craig Porter Jr. minutes. We took the 1 minute away this morning.
Chicago side, there is a little bit more injury information here on their second night of back-to-back after a very disappointing home loss to the Pistons. They're still without Torrey Craig, Zach LaVine, obviously Patrick Williams and Zach LaVine basically lost for the season. Alex Caruso, though, listed questionable with a right hamstring strain. Caruso, it's been hit or miss when he's been listed on the injury report this year. He's always kind of dinged up and he's trying to play through things, but sometimes he just can't give it a go. Last night, 25 minutes. The minutes were managed a little bit. We saw them go back to that double big lineup with Vucevic and Drummond a little bit more. We know that they were willing to start that previously against the Cavaliers. So what are your expectations on Caruso's availability and what we see from the Bulls tonight as the minutes continue to pile up?
Yeah, so going to Caruso, we saw him go to the locker room. The team called it a hamstring injury. We saw him working on the side for about a minute or so. Came back in, call it 5 possessions, and Billy Donovan yanked him out. And Billy Donovan said after the game, it was Donovan's decision to pull him out. Had nothing to do with the trainers. He's like, oh yeah, I don't like how Caruso's running. Get him out of there. Not great. And as you mentioned, important to note, the last time they played the Cavs, they brought Caruso off the bench. So I think this is a pretty decent chance we're going to get Andre Drummond in the starting lineup regardless. Obviously, if Caruso's out, I think it's pretty much a lock that they would do that. You mentioned they abandoned the double big lineup 2 games ago, which was odd. First time they did that in a while, and then they brought it back last game. So, yeah, we've got a 10-minute double big overlap hedge that will be going likely up if Caruso gets ruled out, or if they do have. We're not officially going that way, but we're kind of leaning that way that Drummond's going to start at the 4, since I would assume has been playing pretty well, playing a ton of minutes there. Obviously, the matchup is quite bad with the Cavs' interior defense, but yeah, nothing for Kobe White. Kobe White is ice cold. He shot the ball terribly in the last couple games. Billy Donovan said that he's on the scouting report now, and he has to kind of adjust and grow from that. So, yeah, really just a function of being cold. I looked into it's like a lot of everything. A lot of on-ball stuff missing, a lot of catch-and-shoot stuff missing. His drives are down a little bit, so it's mostly just a function of missing jumpers. Happens to everyone. So my guy will be back.
There were a whole lot of missed jumpers for the Bulls last night. 2 for 29 from 3, an NBA worst 3-point percentage in league history, I believe. 2 for 29, just outrageous in this day and age. People, the chat noting that's Alex Caruso's birthday as well, Mike, that you missed out on the Alex Caruso birthday chain. So I guess he's not
Jen
in
Hill,
the chat with
Luka.
Yeah. February 28th. That's the well, I guess no, the leap year is the 29th, which is Halliburton. Halliburton's a leap year baby, right? So he's only like 7 years old or something like that. Let's move to Memphis and Minnesota. On the Memphis side of things, and it just makes me sad. Memphis, Minnesota, for some reason, because of the playoff series a few years ago, I guess when I see this game, it really makes me sad for the Grizzlies season in a way that other games have not. But the injury report is what it is. They're without Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, Luke Kennard, John Morant, Scottie Pippen Jr., Marcus Smart, John Conchar is listed as doubtful here. So what are your expectations on what we see from the Grizzlies tonight?
Yeah, so we know 4 people who are starting, I would say for sure. Vince Williams, Zaire Williams, Santi Aldama, and Jaren Jackson. And for now, we've seen Jordan Goodman listed as out the last couple games, but I think he's going to start. He only has, I think, 13 NBA days on his contract. He signed a prorated two-way contract earlier this month. So, 50 you have 50 games for a full two-way deal, but it's prorated. So, say you're only half that. Say you sign the deal in the middle of the season, you'd only get 25 games, if that makes sense. So I think he's at like 14, given the way we're here. So you got to use one here, right? Like, you don't have anybody. You can't play Derrick Rose a lot of minutes. I think this is one of those games they do have to use him. The Memphis Hustle, they are in Mexico right now. Goodwin hasn't been playing there, so I'd be pretty surprised if they sent him to Mexico for 2 games against the Capitans in the G League. So expecting Goodwin to start. I would not be surprised if they did start someone else. Maybe they want to start Jake LaRavia. Maybe they want to start Lamar Stevens. Maybe they want to start Gigi. I doubt that, though. There was a comment from Jenkins saying they want to put Gigi Jackson in a higher usage role. Best way to do that, off the bench. Obviously, it did not go well for him in that role. 1 of 13, which we were happy about. We had a Gigi under. But yeah, so for now, expecting Goodwin. We've got a little bit of a hedge in the low 20s minutes there. And then, same thing for Trey Jemison. He has 15 days left. He signed a little bit earlier. So he could be back here. But the fact that they're not even activating Jemison when he's, he has 15 days left, and they're getting close. So this is like a wink to me that, Jaren's shutdown is on the table for this situation. I talked about the probable tag as well. So, but yeah, for now, expecting Goodwin. The other starters I mentioned, Matthew Hurt maybe in the rotation was garbage time, but then Lamar Stevens, God, he killed us. We had an under on him. He had like 6 jumpers that he made in a row, like fadeaway. There was like, oh my God, this bet was not meant to be. So yeah, but I think that kind of covers it.
Minnesota side of things, we did get their injury listing right before we went on the air here. So Kyle Anderson has been ruled out. Karl Anthony Towns is not on the injury report. Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards are both listed questionable here on the second night of back-to-back. Gobert's been listed questionable the last few games, finally played through it yesterday. Anthony Edwards has had this ankle tweak that he's tweaked a couple times in the last few games. So what are your expectations here tonight against a Grizzlies team that you would think is a potential spot to get a soft spot kind of in the schedule here? And Minnesota, obviously they're competing for the very top spot in the Western Conference and home court advantage with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Those two teams have created a little bit of separation from Denver and the Clippers of late, 2 and 3 games ahead of those two teams respectively. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a game off here for Ants, but what are your leans and inclinations here on the Timberwolves?
Yeah, I think Ant's unlikely, man. That ankle injury looked terrible. He got helped off the court. He put weight on his foot, but had 2 guys kind of huddled around him. When he went down,
Rudy Gobert healed him.
Gobert was.
Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say Rudy Gobert was like doing Mr. Miyagi on him, rubbing his ankle. Is that? And then I think that's the right. Is that the right? Yeah, no, it's not the right.
Yeah,
reference. I don't know. Whatever it is. So yeah, I think Ant's sitting. That would get Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the first unit if he did sit, but he's so indestructible. He's had I want to say like 4 times he's hurt this ankle, including back in the Team USA days. So I don't know. It's Memphis. You're 12-point favorites. It's a back-to-back. Chris Finch said they had to be more cognizant of back-to-backs. Whole lot lining up here to sit Ant. Same thing for Gobert. He did play through the ankle thing. He's fine. Practice on Monday. Good to go. 39 minutes. Played pretty well, despite a nice late charge from the Spurs. So we have Ant in for projections, but I think he's going to sit. So expecting Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's played great, and he played really good. He plays such good defense, man. Jaden McDaniels, Karl Anthony Towns back, and then for now expecting Gobert in. If he's out, probably Naz Reid season, who I don't know if the Sheep Boys gave me credit for Naz Reid from pivoting off, but Naz Reid did smash, and I would expect him to smash again if Gobert misses.
Yeah, well, I'd expect him to smash if Ant or Gobert miss, right?
Yep,
if Ant misses, that's a lot of usage to fill in the time that Karl Anthony Towns is off the floor, which Naz would certainly benefit from. And then if Gobert misses, obviously there's just a lot more playing time available to Naz Reid in those situations as well. Without Kyle Anderson, the front court gets a little bit thin here. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you shout out the defense. It's been really great to watch him settle into a role after the first few years in the league. He was kind of a chucker who looked like he was going to shoot his way out of the league in terms of just the way he was trying to play, despite being a super athletically gifted guy. And he's really kind of honed his game and kind of controlled his game and become a great defensive player. So it's really been cool to see. The Minnesota schedule, just want to note, they play Sacramento at home on Friday and then the Clippers at home on Sunday. That Clippers game at home on Sunday, I would be thinking you'd want, and that's the front end of a back-to-back. They then play Monday at home against Portland. It's one of the reasons that I'm thinking that it might not go tonight is simply because you look ahead at that schedule and you're like, okay, if I can get Ant, 2 days off before Sacramento, see if he's good enough to go there, maybe throw another questionable tag on him there. But really, we're looking at this Sunday game against the Clippers is the one that we want to make sure we have him for, just from a playoff seeding perspective. Okay. Let's keep it moving to Sacramento and Denver, talking about the Sacramento Kings. De'Aaron Fox is listed on the injury report as questionable with a left knee contusion. That's the only really notable thing here. Sasha Vezenkov kicked that questionable tag for a while, now has the out tag that he's been rocking of late. Fox present at shoot-around today, according to Underdog. What are your expectations for De'Aaron tonight?
Yeah, full participant at shoot-around, knee contusion. Fox has been pretty durable in his career, so expecting him to go. Very important. I was waiting for that news because I would have bet Denver with them, even with the 8. You'd have to give up because I think De'Aaron is that important to this matchup because Denver's so good at taking away 3-pointers, number 3, and taking away catch and shoot points. So yeah, full go. Minutes are pretty strong. We took a minute away for the Q tag. We got the shoot around note that you just mentioned while we were recording. So we'll probably give De'Aaron a minute back there. So other than that, we've seen a lot of minutes in this matchup. They've been playing Fox and Sabonis heavy. They've won the last 2 games against the Nuggets. This is a pretty fun game. You could argue it should be national TV, but I won't go there. LA could have the ESPN game.
Nuggets side, they're pretty healthy here. Nothing really on the injury report. Hunter Tyson listed questionable with a left finger issue, but he's not near the rotation. So what are your notes on the Nuggets tonight?
Yeah, big game. Mentioned they just lost 2 to the Kings earlier this year. I think they want this one pretty bad. So we've got a little bit of a boost on their minutes for this spot. They did play them pretty heavy earlier in this matchup. So we could see a lot there. Jamal Murray, he's been playing a lot in back-to-backs, even besides that little lull. Same with Joker. So front end either way, it's expect him to play a lot. And fun game here for them.
Yeah, this is that was going to be my note. Front end of a back-to-back. Tomorrow's a national TV game. Rematch of the finals at home against Miami. And then their next 4 games are all national TV games for the Nuggets. So they play Miami at home, at Los Angeles, Phoenix at home, Boston at home. The next 4 games. So, pretty daunting test for the Nuggets coming up in their schedule. We have seen them show willingness to really run the guys heavy in these competitive matchups. So hopefully we get another one of those tonight.
2 more things to add really quick on that. So Jamal Murray, we saw him get those kind of P tags, Q tags. He would have been at 38 if not for garbage time. So he's full. And again, I think they're going to play a lot. And then Joker triple-double with the 16 dimes, 26 potential assists. So he ran kind of bad, a little bit bad on the dime. Just absolutely just owns the Warriors, as Draymond noted on his podcast.
Yeah. 16 out of 26, that's his normal conversion rate. It's about 60%.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I think it's pretty fair. All right, Lakers and Clippers. Last game to touch on tonight. On the Lakers side of things, the injury report is always busy with Anthony Davis listed probable with the bilateral Achilles tendinopathy. LeBron James listed questionable left ankle tendinopathy as well. Cam Reddish probable. They're still without Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, and Christian Wood. What are your notes on the Lakers tonight?
Yeah, national TV today against the Clippers, and they get the Wizards tomorrow. So pretty sure they're going to go full blast in this spot. So expecting a D'Angelo, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, Anthony Davis starting lineup. Obviously, Taurean Prince, Spencer Dinwiddie should be in there. And then we'll see if Max Christie could kind of we just got Trey Murphy added to questionable there. As someone mentioned, would you still bet them 6.5? I think I would. But anyways, I digress. So we know the starters. We know Taurean Prince is in there. We know Spencer Dinwiddie's in there. And then it was a little odd that they went away from Jackson Hayes with Anthony Davis in foul trouble early. Darvin Ham said after the game they kind of just got the rotations a little bit funky, so maybe he's at risk. We know that Lou likes to go small, so there's kind of ways that Jackson Hayes could be affected by Cam Reddish, as weird as that sounds. So we've got like a little hedge on, who could fill out the back end. And I think that Spencer Dinwiddie's pretty safe, but he's played absolutely horrible basketball in the last handful of games.
Yep. Clippers side, their only injury on the injury report is Paul George, who's listed out with the left knee soreness. What are your notes on the Clippers?
Yeah, Paul George is injured according to Ty Lue, so it sounds like a multiple game. It already is multiple games, but it could be an additional one there with the quick rule out. Norm Powell started the last game. I love this matchup. Shout out to Gary. I actually cover boyed Norm Powell for matchups today because the Lakers get killed in transition. They get killed on catch and shoot shots. Those are Norm Powell's jams. So really excited about Norm Powell coming off a 37-minute game. He'll be shooting a ton in this spot. If it's a Zubac's revenge game, he's also going to benefit. They're less, talk about this all the time, they're less likely to go smaller when they don't have George. So I think Zubac's is in a pretty good spot. Need that size against Anthony Davis. And then Kawhi Leonard will have to guard LeBron James, but he's still fared pretty well in that matchup. Pretty good matchup for Harden if he can get going. He's been a little bit cooler after really one of the hottest off-dribble three-point shooters in the first half of the season.
Yeah, and on that Trey Murphy questionable tag note, certainly meaningful. Someone asked in chat whether it's important enough to circle back to the challenge of diagnosing the Pelicans is right now that's 4 questionable tags on 4 players that we would consider primary starters for them. So the combinations of injuries could open up value in different locations, just depending on who plays. We do think CJ McCollum, who didn't play last night, is the most likely of the questionable tags to be able to play. So when we start talking about Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram and Trey Murphy, you're starting to think about kind of the wings here. And Najee Marshall is the first guy to potentially fill out playing time there. And then after that, it gets into the Matt Ryan and Jordan Hawkins and those types of guys that they've been a little bit less comfortable with. So if you're talking about taking shots on them in props or DFS and stuff like that, you're going to want to see like multiple guys sitting before you're like really excited about those situations. And we'll just always note that whenever Zion Williamson or Brandon Ingram potentially sit, if they're even less confident in the depth of the wings that they have, that's better for Jonas Valanciunas, even though the matchup is one that could certainly get him played off the floor. In India's a team that plays very fast, and that's not the greatest spot for Jonas Valanciunas. There's more likely that you need the usage, more likely that you need the full 48 minutes at the center spot. So, might end up being more beneficial to Larry Nance, but that center spot becomes closer to a full 48 the more wings you kind of take away from the equation.
Yeah, and then, we can't even go there. We may see Sebring. We may see Crutcher, who got some minutes last night in garbage time. Matt Ryan probably is going to start. Should note that Jordan Hawkins lost the second half rotation with Matt Ryan kind of getting hot. So that was not great for him. So he would have to start if they're like really, really good at it and would play a ton. But matchup sucks, though. The Pacers are number 1 at limiting catch and shoot points per game.
Yep. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. We thank you for your loyalty in following our content, and if you want to, send us back a little bit of love, the best way to do so is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are in pursuit of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season. We'd like your help in subscribing to the channel to get there. We're about 300 or so shy at this point in time, so appreciate your help there. If you're interested in our premium content, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more details on our premium product offerings. You'll catch myself and Gary Hartman in his penultimate show at ETR tonight beyond the paywall at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Friday will be the farewell tour for Gary Hartman, who we are sad to see move on from the DFS space. But you can catch him for 2 more premium shows tonight and Friday beyond the paywall. 5 o'clock Eastern, establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more details on our product offerings. If you are enjoying this free content, one of the best ways to show how much you enjoy the free content is by smashing that like button and feeding that algorithm. It circulates it in the content machine, so it gets more eyes on the content for us, and that helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your season-long lineups, your DFS lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. I'll be back on Friday with Fan. You'll see Mark Dankenbring and Mike Gallagher tomorrow. Same time, same place. Take care, everybody.